Hello and welcome to Conscious TV and to the sixth program on important books in the life of my guests. My name is Eleonora Gilbert, and in the studio with me today I have Joan Tollifson. Hello, Joan.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me. Joan is an author and as well as a teacher, and she resonates with Advaita, Buddhism, Zen and other forms of non-duality. And she's here in London from Oregon, from the United States, to give satsang. Would you say satsang or teaching or?
I don't use either word, but that's fine.
That's fine,
yeah,
okay.
Whatever.
And Joan has recommended 4 books, which I'm going to go through with her now. And the first one is the book On the Taboo Against Knowing Who You Are by Alan Watts. Then we're going on to The Light of Discovery by Toni Packer. Wonderful little book. Then the third one will be I Am That by Nisargadatta. And Buddhism is Not What You Think by Steve Hagen. Joan, so the first one, the book. Why did you choose this book?
I chose this book because it was one of the first books I read on this subjectless subject. I read it when I was in college, probably right around the time it first came out in the mid-'60s. And I was it had a big impact on me. And I was just discovering Zen and Vedanta and Buddhism at that point. And all of that was just kind of coming to the West at that point too. So it was, the culture was discovering it at the same time I was. And so this book, I read it, and at the time, of course, this stuff was just starting to get in there. So I kind of, it resonated and I understood it, but then I kind of didn't understand it. It was kind of mysterious and also kind of made sense. And so it was kind of a seed that led me on from there. And then I found it in the library of a place I was doing a retreat several decades later and read it again.
Right.
And was, at that point, it made complete sense to me. I thought it was amazingly clear, and there was a whole part in it that I just had not even recognized when I'd read it the first time, which is the way in which he so brilliantly deconstructs all forms of separation and the separate self. So.
And what period of your life, and why was it particularly impactful to you? When you first read it?
When I first, well, I mean, I was in college. I was like 18 years old, and so, I mean, it was, although it became the direction of my life, really. I mean,
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happened after that? After you read that book, I mean, when you said it became the direction of your life, where did you go from there?
Oh, well, I mean, I took a class on Zen and Vedanta and sat with a little sitting group, and then eventually, years later, I was at the Zen Center, and then I was with Toni Packer, and then
right, okay.
So it kind of unfolded into what became the central passion in my life.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
What I found actually quite fascinating, that it was written in 1966,
yes.
And even in those days, I was a child, yes. He really talks about the fact that we are completely enmeshed in our environment and the damage that we already began to do, even at that time, and he really points out that we need to do something about that, even in 1966, and look where we are now. So I thought, my goodness, it's...
He really saw that the sense of separation that we have,
yes,
in which we see ourselves as separate selves, separate from the environment,
yes,
separate from other people, that this was at the root of how we were treating the earth and how we were treating other people and how we were sort of our human disaster.
Indeed.
What I remember getting from the book the first time I read it in back when it was in 1966,
yes,
was that sense of the wholeness of everything, the seamlessness of everything,
yes,
and how the polarities of life go together. I mean, he did such a beautiful job of showing how, our mental picture seems to be that we think we're trying to make good triumph over evil and light triumph over dark and up triumph over down. And he was just very good at showing how they are actually part of one whole process, and that you can't really, like he compares it to the head and tail of a cat, and you can't
yes,
really you can't really pull them apart.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was. I enjoyed it, and again, you know, I was really taken by the fact that, my goodness, these kind of conversations, you know, they're not new. They've been around.
Yes, and well, some of it was just, I mean, it's funny to read it now because he just talks about the new science of ecology and everything like that.
Yes, that's exactly what got me, in fact.
And
is there anything you wanted to read?
Well, yeah, the part that really got me when I reread it,
yes,
was how he completely shows the absence of separation between inside and outside, and
yes,
between that there is no separate self in the way that we think of it, and he also really sees through how practices can become a kind of new game for the ego to play. I mean, he says, if then you ask me how to get beyond the ego feeling, I shall ask you why you want to get there. If you give me the honest answer, which is that your ego will feel better in the higher spiritual status of self-transcendence, you will thus realize that you, as ego, are a fake. You will feel like an onion, skin after skin, subterfuge after subterfuge is pulled off to find no kernel at the center, which is the whole point, to find out that the ego is indeed a fake, a wall of defense around a wall of defense around nothing. And he also talks about how, how the final showdown is the kind of apparent dividing line between, on the one side, everything that happens to me, including my own feelings, and on the other side, I myself as the conscious witness. And then he says, isn't it easy to see that this line is imaginary, and that it and the witness behind it are the same old faking process that we learned in childhood, the same old cleft between the knower and the known, the same old split between the organism environment.
Yes.
And if there's no choice in what happens to me on one side of the line, there is equally no choice on the other, on the witnessing side, as to whether I should accept what happens or reject it. I accept, I reject, I witness, just as automatically as things happen or as my emotions reflect my physiological chemistry.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the next book is Delight of Discovery by Toni Packer. Where were you when you read this?
Well, actually, Toni was my main teacher,
yes,
and I was living at the retreat center that she found at Springwater Center. I was on staff, and I was very much involved in creating this book with Toni. I mean, it's Toni's book, but I mean, I was transcribing her talks that got into this book and helping to assemble it all, and I wrote the foreword for the book. So, and at the same time, I was writing my own first book,
yes,
Bare Bones Meditation. So this book, kind of was that point where all that came together, my writing, her teaching.
Yes.
So that's why I picked it. And Toni, for me, was just, and is just, such a, she's so open. Just this feeling of openness and space and listening, this listening presence.
Yes. Yes.
And very down to earth. I mean, and she was incredibly clear about seeing through the self-deception, the habits of the mind, and revealing those.
Yeah.
And then opening to this awareing presence, this happening, this never in a way that felt divided, but as one whole undivided being.
Yes. Well, in reading her book, I certainly found that there is a wonderful clarity, and she writes beautifully and very easy to read and really impactful as well. I really enjoyed reading it, and as I said, that kind of clarity really does come across.
Yes, I marked a few parts that I would share.
Yes.
That I particularly love. Since everyone is really big on enlightenment and seems to be one of the things everyone gets very hung up on, I love this little piece called The Quest for Enlightenment.
Yes, I remember it, yeah.
Would there be any quest for enlightenment if it weren't for our sense of time? Time is created by thought, memory, and imagination. What I was, what I am, what I will be. Forever feeling insufficient and lacking, we want to become whole and complete in the future. We will submit to any spiritual path to overcome our hindrances in the course of time. Then we imagine, hopefully, there will come the day when we will experience enlightenment, the liberation from bondage that has been promised to us by the traditions of the past. I don't think in terms of having experiences anymore. Things just happen. Rain is dripping softly, the heart is beating, there is breathing, in, out, in, out, in, out. There is quiet listening, openness, emptiness, nothing. Enlightenment? How lethal it is to attach a label. Then you become somebody. At the moment of labeling, aliveness freezes into a concept, my enlightenment experience. To be alive, fully alive, means flowing without hindrance, a vulnerable flow of aliveness with no resistance, without any sense of passing time, without needing to think about myself, what I am, what I will be. Our experience mongering is a form of resistance in time. Our craving for experience is a resistance to simply being here now. It's the hum of the airplane, the fog, the wind blowing gently, the rain dripping, breathing, humming, pulsating, opening, closing, nothing at all. It's such a relief to realize we don't have to be anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautifully said again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have another one too, but I don't know if we should.
Oh no, we do have time.
We do have time?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, this one I also really love. It's called Nothing Spectacular. There is the wind, the sound of rustling leaves, the brightness of the room, the breathing, the color of the wooden floor, the hands resting, the heart beating. There is saliva gathering in the mouth and the swallowing of it. What's so hard about being in touch with what is real, with what is actually here this moment, unspectacular though it may be? Is this one of our problems? That to be in touch with reality, we expect something spectacular, something out of the ordinary. So we fail to be with our feet on the most ordinary of grounds, a soggy path or a wooden floor, a rug. Last night in the meeting room there was a lamp on the table, and just beneath it a small plant with the greenest of leaves, like tongues unfolding out of the little pot, and a few red flowers, as red can be, with yellow dots inside. That's simple. Can we see it and not expect this to do something for us? Can we just see it, hear it, feel it completely? At the same time, there is the breathing, the sound of the wind, the ticking of a clock, the beating of the heart. A feeling of uncertainty or calm may also be there. The entire universe is there, the wonder of it, not the concept, just the air, the ground, the sky, the night, the stars, and the lights of spring water.
Yeah. Well, it speaks for itself.
It
really.
does, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Then the next one is I Am That. I love this book. I think it's absolutely wonderful. Tell me, where were you in your life when you discovered this book?
I was at Springwater on staff,
Again, yes.
and one of the many guests who passed through
Right.
had I Am That, and that's how I came upon it. And
Right.
and that same guest pointed me to Jean Klein, who I went to,
Right.
and so that was kind of the introduction to Advaita for me.
Yes.
And that particular book, I Am That, just completely. I just love it. My copy is just, I didn't bring it because it's so big, but it's just tattered and underlined, and it looks like it's been through the washing machine. And
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I was wondering, there is actually a quote that I thought was very, very, very sweet, and I typed it out. Shall I read it?
Sure.
So he says, Nisargadatta, my advice to you is very simple. Just remember yourself. I am. It is enough to heal your mind and take you beyond. Just have some trust. I don't mislead you. Why should I? Do I want anything from you? I wish you well, such is my nature. Why should I mislead you? Common sense, too, will tell you that to fulfill a desire, you must keep your mind on it. If you want to know your true nature, you must have yourself in mind all the time, until the secret of your being stands revealed. I just love that.
I also love about Nisargadatta that he was this, in contrast to so many spiritual people who are very beatific and calm and lovely. He was this kind of angry, fiery guy who threw people out of his satsang and smoked cigarettes in the middle of satsang, and was just kind of a different character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, I brought some pages that
Perfect.
I could
Yes.
share some of my favorite.
Yes.
All separation, every kind of estrangement and alienation is false. All is one. This is the ultimate solution of every conflict. As long as we imagine ourselves to be separate personalities, one quite apart from the other, we cannot grasp reality, which is essentially impersonal. I think I'll skip some of the ones I underlined because of time, but you need not and you cannot become what you already are.
Yes.
Having never left the house, you are asking for the way home. Get rid of wrong ideas, that is all. Don't rely on your mind for liberation. It is the mind that brought you into bondage. Go beyond it altogether. Stop thinking of achievement of any kind. You are complete here and now. You need absolutely nothing. All you can say about yourself is, I am. You are pure being, awareness. To realize that is the end of seeking. You come to it when you see all you think yourself to be as mere imagination. It is the clinging to the false that makes the true so difficult to see. Once you understand that the false needs time, and what needs time is false, you are nearer the reality which is timeless, ever in the now. Reality is what makes the present so vital, so different from the past and future, which are merely mental. If you need time to achieve something, it must be false. If you need time to achieve something, it must be false. The real is always with you. You need not wait to be what you are, only you must not allow your mind to go out of yourself in search. All experience is illusory, limited and temporal. Expect nothing from experience. Realization is not an experience. All limitation is imaginary. Only the unlimited is real. Oh, and this is a beautiful one. The mirror reflects the image, but the image does not improve the mirror. You are neither the mirror nor the image in the mirror. Having perfected the mirror so that it reflects correctly, truly, you can turn the mirror round and see in it a true reflection of yourself. True as far as the mirror can reflect. But the reflection is not yourself. You are the seer of the reflection. Do understand it clearly. Whatever you may perceive, you are not what you perceive. Questioner, someone asks him.
Yes.
If both dream and escape from dream are imaginings, what is the way out? Nisargadatta. There is no need of a way out. Don't you see that a way out is also part of the dream? All you have to do is see the dream as a dream. Questioner. If I start the practice of dismissing everything as a dream, where will it lead me? Nisargadatta. Wherever it leads you, it will be a dream. And then I'm going to skip a few here for time, but you still imagine that truth needs pointing at and telling you, look, here is truth. It is not so. Truth is not the result of an effort, the end of a road. It is here and now, in the very longing and the search for it. It is nearer than the mind and the body, nearer than the sense I am. You do not see it because you look too far away from yourself. You are taking duality so much for granted that you do not even notice it, while to me, variety and diversity do not create separation. You imagine reality to stand apart from names and forms, while to me, names and forms are the ever-changing expressions of reality, and not apart from it. You ask for the proof of truth, while to me, all existence is the proof. You separate existence from being and being from reality, while to me, it is all one. Nothing is me is the first step. Everything is me is the next. Both hang on the idea there is a world. When this too is given up, you remain what you are, the non-dual self. You are it here and now, but your vision is obstructed by your false ideas about yourself. Love says, I am everything. Wisdom says, I am nothing. Between the two, my life flows. And the final one I'll read, and this sums it up. Without words, what is there to understand? The need for understanding arises from misunderstanding.
Yes.
The confusion is all in the mind.
It's all in the mind.
He's so, I think for me what came from reading Nisargadatta and getting into Advaita was that I still had a sense prior to that, a kind of a sense that there was me on this spiritual path who needed to kind of be aware.
Yes.
And that sometimes I was successfully aware and sometimes I was not. Sometimes I was in the now and sometimes I was not in the now, that kind of feeling, thought. And Nisargadatta kind of punctured that and just left me with the sense of the wholeness of it all, and you could say, that was in Alan Watts, it was in Toni Packer. It's like, it feels to me like we just keep getting the same lessons over and over in an ever subtler, ever deeper way. But,
And that leads us to the last book, Buddhism is Not What You Think, another really lovely little gem. Just adorable, really, really adorable. I just love this book as well. Where were you then? On your journey?
I was at Springwater again, only this time I was no longer living there. I was living in Chicago, being with my mother in her final years, and I went for a retreat to Springwater the summer before my mother died, and after the retreat was over, I went down to the library to see if I could dig up something to read, and I came upon Steve Hagen's book, and I took it up to my room, and it just seemed like the clearest, so clear.
Yes.
And the thing that really had a big impact on me, and the thing that really had a big impact was several things, but the way he talks about emptiness, not as a big empty space, but as the nature of form, as the nature of everything. And he says that our initial understanding of impermanence is that there are all these things and they're impermanent, like you and me and the table, and we're all impermanent.
Yes. But
that the deeper understanding of impermanence is that there is no impermanence, because no thing ever forms to be impermanent, because all there is flux, all there is this seamlessness that has no beginning and no end. And in seeing that, there's no fear of death, there's no, because there's no separation.
Yes.
So that to me was the and again you could say, well, that's in all these, but it just was I just got it on such a deeper level.
Again, he also has a wonderful, wonderful, clear and simple way of explaining something that is incredibly difficult to explain, and I really enjoyed his way of writing and his clarity.
Yes, and he also has something at the beginning of the book that's so interesting too, where he talks about how we usually think that science deals with reality and religion deals with belief, and he says it should actually be the other way around. He says when religion deals with belief, it gets into trouble, it gets into fundamentalism and all of this. Religion should deal with reality, by which he means this, this happening that no word can ever, but that science is all about belief, really. It's all these theories, and then science has the tools to test them out in a kind of, quote, so-called objective way.
Yes.
Not flawlessly, but more or less can check them out, whereas when religion gets into belief, it becomes dogmatic. And so he's also just really pointing to coming back from the conceptual map, from the world of thoughts, into the actuality of this.
What is.
this
Yeah.
present happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, beautiful. I mean, I'm really grateful for your choice of books, for your selection, because it's been, you know, how I was left with, it's, you know, I've read a lot of books now with this mini-series of important books, and they all point to the same sort of place. But how they get to, how the author gets to explain it, to write it, it touches me in various different ways. And I was really moved by reading these 4 books. Again, you know, I can't quite explain it. It's just a feeling. It's just a sensation. So, a sensation of melting. Actually,
yes,
that's
such a good
really
word.
That's really how I was left with. So, just we need to finish. So, just going through again, the book is the book on the taboo against knowing who you are by Alan Watts. Then we've looked at The Light of Discovery, Toni Packer. I Am That, definitely something to have in everybody's bookshelves, definitely. I just adore this book. And Buddhism Is Not What You Think by Steve Hagen. Joan, thank you so much for joining me today. And,
thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you soon some other times. And thank you for watching Conscience TV, and goodbye.